and welcome to the Just Three Gents AEW Dynamite Review Podcast on the Biconics Wrestling Podcast Network. Welcome, Biconics fans. I am JVL. That is Mikey, and we have the Professor.
Hi, it's me, the Professor.
Lovely to have him here. Mikey, I feel like we're all in the same room together. It feels so good. Professor, did you watch Dynamite last week?
I sure did.
Good. Mikey, I know you finally watched it on the YouTube feed, and then you had your DVR run it, so you got all the fun problems, correct?
Yes, I made the mistake of watching Dynamite on my television and not my TV feed, but you know what?
What?
I got through it, and hopefully NXT and AEW decide never to do this for the foreseeable future. 4 hours of wrestling in 1 night's
It is. Professor, Mikey and I are just getting on here. You had a pre-show thing planned, right? Like the pre-show for the show, you were doing the same thing? Professor, seriously, just set it up, let it go. Mikey and I will be in the background. We want to see what you've got. Bring out this amazing start of the show for us. Professor? I don't think he's coming back, Mikey.
I would say that's the weirdest thing I've seen, but I feel like at this point with us, this is normal, and I don't know whether to be okay with it or to be terrified.
I think we can feel multiple emotions at once, but I guess you and I are going to have to take this one on the chin and start the show off right. Just like our first match on the pre-show where Eddie Kingston was basically putting it to Minoru Suzuki right on the chin multiple times. This was for the NGPW Strong and ROH World Championship, and I also loved the intro from RJ City and Renee. Like, I want them on commentary somewhere.
Those two on commentary would be great. Also, I'm still of the mindset, let's throw Kip Sabian on as well. It doesn't have to be international stuff. Kip Sabian is very eloquent, and he did a very good job when they were doing the commentary during the 0 hour.
But this was it. They were genuine, they were funny, and they set up the match really well. We didn't start with a technical masterpiece. We didn't start with Flippy Dippy Spot Fest. We didn't start with even like the most storyline based of grapple, ground, and pound. This was truly what brought AEW to the dance in the first place. A hard-hitting, brawling match with one of their kind of homegrown indie talent and a Japanese. And I started to build the bottom of it and what it came from. And Mikey, while there wasn't much variation in the match, I highly enjoyed it. I don't know about you.
Listen, I'm never going to complain about Eddie Kingston and Murder Grandpa himself, Minoru Suzuki fighting each other. That is a matchup where I don't care. I will always watch it, and it would be great. I love this match a lot, and I should have known better given everything else that happened during Dynamite. I was like, if this is what we're going to be getting tonight, I could get behind this Dynamite. And then immediately after the opener match on Dynamite, everything just went...
I would say sideways. There were a couple of times it came back up, but it was a little sideways.
It was doing the wave.
So in this match, very hard hitting, a lot of back and forth chops, really kicking the crap out of each other. The Gotch style pile driver doesn't get done. Eddie ends up having to go with a back fist, then an enziguri, and then a stalling brain buster to put Suzuki away and gives him his flowers afterwards. But Mikey, the one thing going through my head this entire match, I know we're still in the pre-show here, I want their next rematch, because they keep fighting each other, to be like Brawl on the D train, like on the New York subway, where no one cares, they don't pay attention, and it's just them going from car to car, like on this bullet train, but the two of them having
That's what I was going to say. Minoru Suzuki already has experience fighting on trains because he fought on a bullet train in Japan. Now,
exactly, but
how do you one-up that?
Fall on stuff on the floor, they could get needles in their back, they could have like horrible, weird stains they get stuck in that somebody peed on the floor. This could be perfect. So that whet our appetite. We thought this was going to be amazing, and we cut right to very eloquent Tony Khan, and I'm saying that in quotes because he's just really not good at giving promos. He sets up the fact that Phoenix is going to wrestle tonight, but Moxley is still not cleared to fight him. So they will have they have someone in mind to be a rematch, or at least a match coming up, and Hook comes in and says the most words he's ever spoken in his entire career in AEW, saying Orange Cassidy deserved the rematch he was never given. And I did enjoy this part where Tony says, great, do you want that orange? And he says, whatever, like he would. And Tony, like you're dealing with a parent dealing with a toddler. If you don't want it, we have somebody lined up to take care of it. No, I want it. And you get Orange really excited. And so while I'm worried about what this means, like we have to put it back on Orange because we couldn't figure out what to do with it because of injuries and such, I am happy to see him wrestle for it again, and I was excited to see it come up in the rest of the night. And we were also announced that we got the first 30 minutes of this commercial free because they were trying to con a program, and that's what they did. This was so Mikey watched both like back to back. He watched the NXT show and this back to back, and my God, like I do not envy you for that one. That's just slog.
Yeah. Let me put it this way, and this is the utmost respect and love to professional wrestling and to the Iconic Boys here. At 4 hours was a lot of wrestling. There were ups and downs of both. Who really won? It wasn't the Tuesday Night War this week. Guess who won? Me, the wrestling fan, because I got to see some really fun stuff across the board. And if this is what it, yeah.
I know.
Check out Endless Plug, but I actually expressed my full opinions on the actual person because the character has credence because it's legendary and whatnot. The actual person, not so much. And I was happy to hear that Will, my co-host, also agreed with me, so it was great. But again, ups and downs. I enjoyed NXT just a smidged a little bit better. But I will say Dynamite's pacing was definitely a lot better than NXT's for sure.
I feel like we need to do this every week where we get the first match commercial free because it's every match is picture in picture. And this entire thing, people are saying Tony Khan doesn't know how to book. This week flowed. There was flow to it. There was ups and downs. It at least moved, which hasn't happened a couple times.
Tony Khan can't book the women's division, but at least he was able to book this show for some reason.
Apparently. So we started off in the control room with the most evil-looking supervillain of all time, Christian Cage.
Father of the Year.
Father of the Year.
The Dead Dad Society.
Oh my God.
Instead of Dead Poets, it's Dead Dad Society.
He sets up the fact of what's going on Dynamite, sets the stage as he's the most prominent person there. Quick little heel promo, and then says that he has found the way to make this happen. 30 minutes free, commercial free. How is that evil? I now cheer for Christian Cage for getting rid of my commercials. We go to the Chirons, everything else happens, and we get Danielson versus Swerve in the first match of the night, the Battle of Washington. This was for the number one contendership for the TNT title, so Christian was very involved. Did you love Nana coming out and going, you want this? Who wants this? He's working the crowd the whole time.
The best thing for a manager. This is the best thing a manager has done within the last few years of professional wrestling in general. And the fact that the crowd wants it so bad is, no, you don't get this. Okay, I'm out here looking like a cartoon villain with that jacket, and I loved it.
And the hair that's out backwards, it doesn't move. So the Battle of Washington was amazing. I loved that Danielson still seemed in that technical Zack Sabre Jr. mindset. He wasn't really going all over the place. Meanwhile, Swerve, I realized, but I didn't realize how adaptable he can be. He really showcased how much of a all-around five-tool wrestler he is, and really worked Danielson in a lot of great ways, playing up every bit of it. I could have watched this for an hour. An Iron Man match between these two needs to happen at some point. It was amazing.
I love this, and a lot of my critiques is mostly going to come against the internet wrestling community, because, y'all, this is why we can't have nice things. You guys, can you please stop complaining? Because I won this week. I won between NXT and AEW Dynamite. Personally, this critique, everyone's, Swerve just lost all this momentum. I'm like, you still look strong. And the real reason that Swerve technically lost is because Hangman stuck his nose in his business. And so therefore, and it wasn't like Hangman didn't beat on Swerve for Danielson to pick him up. Like, he just took the opportunity to cheat away from Swerve, and Swerve was gullible enough to walk into 2 knees. Not 1, but 2.
Oh, yeah, 2. It still took 2, and that on top of everything else that had happened in the match between the amazing, basically 450 into a single leg crab. Like, how do you pull that off and that cleanly? And yes, I get that people saying him losing really takes momentum away, but here's the thing. Swerve is so good. Do you want him going for the TNT title right now? I feel like they're building him up to be Max's, either take it from Max or be one of the big ones that gets close. And that's where he needs to be. So getting him, the right person won for this because Danielson doesn't need to be in the main event, and he showcased Swerve in defeat. The fact that it took outside interference for Danielson to get the opportunity to beat him, that's humongous. So I get that there's a worry there, and there's a worry that they won't book him, and that's a very WWE worry to have. I have more faith in this as it's been going along, that it's being booked correctly to have Swerve go where he needs to go. So Let this happen. Let it be. I did love Taz talking about how the ring post was the second hardest part of the ring, which, as we all know, the apron is the hardest part, which they went to later. And this hit every button on me as well. I was like, okay, 2 great matches in a row. Yes, if you're a new watcher of AEW and you think this is all they have, maybe you're looking for something quicker, or if you're a lapsed WWE fan, you want something a little faster pace. But they showcase what the product is. This was not like getting away from it. Again, sad it wasn't a women's match, but still, very good.
I love this match. I can't wait to see what happens next. And then we get into the roller coaster ride that was the rest of this episode. And I'm not saying that because I'm tired. I was saying that because literally in my notes, I was like, there's a lot of good things, and then there's a lot of okay things. Nothing was horribly wrong.
First, we had to move on to Samoa Joe's full promo, where we get the Samoa Joe we've been needing for a while. Oh my gosh. Oh, it's visceral. It's very much that cocky Samoa Joe that I'm sad he's going to lose again. But in general, this is the Samoa Joe character we've needed. And it got us hyped a little bit going into a match that I honestly think was a waste of time. And Mikey, before we get to it, hold on. I'm getting in my earpiece. Do we have the professor? Is he here?
Running in suit pants!
Wow, he really seems to just need to collect his thoughts for a second. He needs to get centered and maybe just questions, but we'll ask him later. He'll be back. He'll be back anytime soon.
Sure.
I would run away too from this next match, which was Jericho versus Hobbs, for nothing at all, basically.
There's only one person I feel bad about this whole entire situation, and that is Hobbs. I'm upset that he's in this position. Hot take. Chris Jericho, your career has been amazing, and it has been a fun journey. I was really surprised that Hobbs got most of the offense in, as he should. But I felt like I was not connecting with this match, and I'm trying to figure out, maybe it's because I don't really like this version of Jericho. Again, this is what I call the Sammy Guevara effect, because anybody who gets put with Jericho is just in this crappy position. Don't be putting Hobbs in factions. It was the same issue I had with Wardlow when he was with MJF all the time. I was like, stop putting your big guys in these factions to be the muscle. And you could tell how great this match was, because we're talking about everything else except for...
Well, so I did have one thing on here. They've changed Hobbs' finisher again. Now he has the world's strongest slam, which was never the most dynamic move to begin with. No offense to Mark Henry, but it looks like Mark Henry's finally
Did they give this to Hobbs because he's black? What is happening?
I hope, because he's doing the Farouk Spinebuster too, the same way.
Oh my god!
All there. I'm surprised they haven't given them the Dominator yet to be like Bobby Lashley and Farouk. It hurts me because Hobbs has a lot of potential, and honestly, sticking him with Don Callis isn't the worst because Hobbs still isn't great on the mic. So having a heel like Hobbs, the problem with this match for me was that Jericho's not a face. The crowd sings this, but he's not. And Hobbs is now supposed to be like the uber heel in this. The heel cancels each other out. There's nothing to figure out. There's no hope spot. There's no rooting for one over the other. It's 2 guys that really aren't technically the best. One's super powerful and one used to be technically amazing, but now it's just using veteran guile to do stuff. And it doesn't mesh unless there's a story to it, and there's not. Even though they're trying to force it, this whole thing about Don Callis beating up Jericho to make him a face, I don't know. It didn't register well. So let's move on from that. Let's get a palate cleanser. Let's go to some of the best stuff they've been doing video-wise for this thing. We cut to Adam Cole, still stuck in a place with no service, and Roddy Strong, and they're making him mow the lawn.
This is literally the country redneck, white man version of The Hills Have Eyes, because this is literally Stockholm Syndrome is about to happen. I was like, what is happening here?
And also, Neck Strong, the giraffe. Oh my god. I didn't realize how bad that was going to be and how good and how much I wanted it.
I'm telling you, AEW, you need to capitalize. You need to make miniature versions and sell these as plushies, because my grown ass would buy it.
I would buy one. Roddy has to have shirts of that of Neck Strong. It needs to happen. Roddy just continues to keep Adam from getting surgery, too. Not even just keeping him away from Max. He's stopping him from healing. This is getting somewhere. I want to see what this final one is going to be or something. There's got to be a third one that's going to happen where, he ends up, under a floorboard somewhere, stuck in an attic or something where he can't get down.
Instead of Elf on the Shelf, it's
Cole on a pole.
That is That's the final evolution of this storyline. It's MJF versus Roderick Strong with Cole on a pole match.
So he goes up in the forklift like Judy Bagwell. Oh God, no.
Ms.
Then
Bagwell,
it-
we salute you.
AEW then is WCW at that point. That's what happens.
Oh my gosh.
So we go on from that lovely break in the action, and we go to what on paper should be an amazing match. On paper, these two men are amazing workers. Orange Cassidy, Ray Phoenix for the international title. And they bring up the history of the title and how long it's taken. And to the day it's when Orange won the title in the first place. Everything was set.
But yeah, breaking news, ladies and gentlemen and non-binary folks of the internet land. This match was not it.
No, and it's because Phoenix is really freaking injured. He sold everything he could for Cassie, and Cassie did what he could. But you can tell, halfway through, Phoenix is done. He can't help himself, and he can't counter. And it's not overselling to sell the story. Phoenix is done.
The last couple of weeks, and we've said this, the last few weeks we reviewed Dynamite, since Grand Slam, Phoenix has it's been one thing after another. And then what really worried me is he literally rolled out of the ring at Wrestle Dream, and Penta had to carry the Lucha Brothers through that match because Phoenix was legit hurt and being looked at by medical professionals outside of the ring.
So because of that, AEW has made the decision to put the belt, spoilers, back onto Orange Cassidy, which, yes, hopefully that continues his second reign, and hopefully the lineage gets better. And they even said hopefully he can bring some shine back to that belt. But I feel like we were building to something better with Cassie. He was off to do his own thing. He didn't need to do this anymore. He was going to be the next big main event thing, and they've knocked him back at this because people can't hold on to it. I usually don't pay attention to the crowd during an Orange Cassidy match or anything else. I saw the stop using Canadian Destroyers sign, which I loved. But I was also but then what is Phoenix going to do? That's half of his arsenal. It's just different Canadian Destroyers. And then I also thought, did NXT get a plant in the audience to put that up because they're afraid to do that?
This really disappointed me in the sense that Fennec has been wrestling a lot injured the last couple of weeks, and I love Orange, I really do. I don't know, this whole situation sucks. Now the International Championship as of late has been cursed.
Since he lost it.
Please let Danhausen be the reason why he got cursed.
Yes.
If you paid attention to Rampage, which nobody does except me and Adolfo, we got a Danhausen promo. It's great.
I saw it. I checked it out on purpose. I am a Danhausen stan. I was very happy to see it. Let him be the one, but then don't give it to Cassidy for that reason. The thing I'm getting here is Cassidy wasn't gone long enough for me to miss him. And not being said, he said he was going to be around, but I wanted to build to that where he doesn't wrestle for months. And then I miss him every week, and then all of a sudden he's back. No, it was less than a month because Moxley gets injured, because all that. So hopefully they build something with Danhausen where I did this for you. I'm your friend. I cursed everyone else so you could have this title. It's your title. And Cass, I don't need this. I'm better than that. And you have a Danhausen versus Cassidy feud, which would be hysterical and amazing. Oh, because they both like punk.
Why not? That'd be great. But yeah, this International Championship match was not it. It made me sad. But then I got the pick-me-up that I needed afterwards.
Yes, I will agree with this. It was a pick-me-up. I feel like it could have been 1,000 times better than it was. What we have here is the first of two parts of the Tony Storm Lover's Lament, which it was basically a silent film with Tony Storm, where she acted out something, but just basically did every silent movie trope she could figure to do. What got me on this is that I know AEW can do better than this and have other people there. They just showed that with the Adam Cole bit. Could this not have been title cards so that what she's saying doesn't match up with what's being said? She can be meta and get on that? Or set up that other people are involved? Film a silent movie. It seemed like whoever came up with this concept was I've heard of a silent movie before. It's funny because people don't talk and I don't pay attention to anything that's really going on. I just want to see their lips moving and weird things happen in kind of fast motion. And she sold it. She did amazing. I wrote down right here, her face is one of the most elastic and funny, able to emote faces that I have seen in a while. Great that they're using a different piece of her, but this felt half-assed. and not in a way that was on purpose. This felt just completely half-assed to me. And we get a second piece of it too, which the ending finally has a card with stuff on it, which we'll get to later. Why didn't you do that for the whole thing? There was no point to it. There wasn't a through line. There wasn't a reason to watch it other than look at these silly things we can do, which is, again, what I just said. So, Mikey, I'm not so sure.
I'm going to cautiously be optimistic. And
I want to. I know. I love what she did.
No, I totally agree with you. I want more for Toni Storm because the last company she was part of, they thought it'd be a great idea to get her over with the crowd by letting pie to the face, bam.
And Charlotte Flair wreck her. But I will say this for that segment, Mikey. It was well more worth watching and much more fun than the squash we got afterwards.
Does the booking people just hate Ring of Honor talent? Because Griff Garrison got destroyed last week. Matt Sydal got destroyed this week. If they really wanted to put a middle finger to Ring of Honor, I don't know. I would take a little bit of offense if, like, Christopher Daniels got squashed by
I was just
Wardlow.
going to say, like, you bring Christopher Daniels in just to get squashed. What do you want him to do, though? That'll ruin him.
What are we doing?
This was basically Wardlow powerbombing the crap out of Sydal and doing the thing, which they need to build him up as a monster again, but you're just running through.
Can we just put pasties on Wardlow? This weird, very thin strap of a thing is bothering me. And this is what I was thinking this whole entire match. I was like, did his outfit get shorter and less compressed?
Yes,
I'm like,
it did.
I'm like literally, I had to pause and I'm literally taking a ruler to measure the straps at this point.
He got bigger up here as well. Like, you can tell he bulked all through his shoulders and got thicker. Like, he was more like in proportion before. Since whatever he's been doing, like, he is, because his neck is so much bigger too. Like, it's humongous. Will Wardlow keep squashing people? Probably. Is there a storyline being built to? No. They just need to use him at this point, probably because his contract is coming up. So that's what we got there. We cut back to another promo, because if you haven't watched Dynamite before, it's usually a bunch of promos and 3 matches, all with picture-in-picture. We got lucky this week that there wasn't as much picture-in-picture, and it lulled people to a false sense of security. But we see Jericho backstage with Renee, and Renee's going to check in on him. He's gotten, obviously, completely his ass kicked by Hobbs. And Daniel Garcia appears to check on him. And I'm like, why? No.
Okay.
Don't. And thank you for Matt Menard for being the voice of reason. But why? You can't hold on to this?
AEW.
Yes.
We got to have a quick talk real quick. Let's call this a fireside chat, if you will. So, we had the JAS breakup, and all the people are doing their own things. I already explained it on Rampage. I hate the fact that we broke everybody up because they wanted to go do their own things, and then you stick pretty much everybody still together, and I call them the non-JAS squad at this point on Rampage. And I thought we were going to get something because Daniel Garcia is entering delusional territory, because after his match on Rampage, he made it sound like he did all the work and everybody else was just like not pulling their weight. And Daddy Magic was like, oh, hell no. And I actually was intrigued. And then I saw this promo. And the first thing that came out of my mouth, and then I sat there. I paused my television. I thought about it. I had a cup of tea. I reflected upon everything. And then I came to the appropriate conclusion with the words that came out of my mouth. What the f*** are we doing? This makes no sense to me. It's the same issue I had with throwing Sammy back to Jericho, and it's the same thing. Everybody left because Jericho is being an asshole.
He's not the babyface. He's not the hero in this story. He was never meant to be.
No. And it makes no sense to me that Daniel Garcia would be the one to have a change of heart, be like, oh my gosh, Chris, are you okay? I'm like, no, all that.
He was the first one to walk out of the meeting.
He's I'm out of here. I got better things to do. And I was like, you go, Daniel Garcia. And now he's being a little punk because he's now the Sammy Guevara. Because now that Sammy's out concussed for who knows how long. He's left to go to the Don Callis family. So now we gotta. Why do we have to put all the Latinos in this same fucking position? It's the same thing that I brought up with Hobbs. It's like Daniel Garcia is now in the Sammy Guevara spot where it's like an abusive relationship. Oh, he'll change. No, he won't. He's still the same asshole you've always known, Daniel. And again, Daddy Magic is the last person I thought was the voice of reason in this whole entire thing.
Right?
But I'm ready for him because I'm like, yes, Daddy Magic is all of us fans right now who are watching this product on a weekly basis. What the? Why? No. I need everybody to stay away from Jericho because I need to have wrestlers stop being in the black hole void that is Jericho and whatever storyline he's got going on. Where is the Garcia that faced Shibata on Ring of Honor and at the pay-per-views on numerous occasions?
The one
The
that took
dancing
on
gimmick can
Zack
stay,
Sabre
'cause-
Jr. and everything else. Oh no, keep the dancing, definitely.
The
hits are
dancing is
amazing.
great. Listen, I popped really hard between when he had a dance off with Jeff Hardy on Rampage. That's hilarious.
So
But keep him away from Jericho. This is not what I want.
let's get away from this now, because that was a short freaking promo for all of that vitriol, which deserved completely. And Mikey, thank you for having
Don't
a
get
fireside
ready.
chat.
Round 2 is about to come up eventually.
I believe it. But we had a decent match of the night, which had some fun things to it as well, which we had Hangman Page taking on Jay White with the Bang Gang at ringside, and not like milling about ringside like most managers do that get into trouble with stuff. They were sitting like a bunch of high school dropouts on the ramp and on the barricade, just hanging out, being there, and those goddamn big wheels. I love the damn big wheels the Guns rode in on. It was spectacular.
This faction has become one of the fastest rising favorites of mine in AEW. Again, this is Bullet Club that I remember. They're just trolling everybody, and these are the perfect people to troll in. Prior
Definitely.
to that, I was all in. These big wheels were great. They still got cardboard Jay White, like Cardblade. I love it so much.
Something I noticed in this match, I don't know if they're actually going for if I'm reading too much into it. They kept bringing up on commentary how like Omega's out injured, and so he's in the hospital. The Bucks are with him. Like Page doesn't have backup, which came into play later. But the other part of it is this is Bullet Club on Bullet Club. Could Page feel left out by the Elite and go to Bullet Club, go to the Bang Gang? He fits their vibe in certain respects, and it is like Bullet Club light, basically.
I wouldn't hate that. The issue that I have with this is we did something similar with the Dark Order, but in the opposite, reverse Uno kind of it. They were the good guys, and they were supporting Page through an emotional turmoil he was going through. I think Hangman would be a lot of fun if we leaned into the trolling aspect that Bullet Club Gold does. And I will say it right now, at this point, by the end of this match, and looking at what came afterwards for all the way to the end of the show, this was my match of the night only because this had what I wanted. I had the laughs. Hangman and Jay White is a matchup that I knew was going to be fun. And this is what I got.
They went bell to bell, so amazing places. Like, I couldn't believe it.
I was like, this is why I watch wrestling. This was awesome. And of course, we got the return because Swerve interferes. Swerve kind of,
tried to.
It didn't work out.
One of the earlier comic bits I also loved before we yell at him. Juice Robinson trying to pee on Bryce Remsburg like a dog was one of the funniest thing I've seen.
Again, it's scary to think that Juice and Tony have these crazy ass wrestling characters, and to think that Juice is probably the most sane one between these two crazy characters is the scariest bit.
They're trying to out-crazy each other. It's ridiculous. But this was a standard, amazing AEW match between Jay White and Adam Page. And because of Nana's sort of interference and distraction, Page gets rolled up and Jay takes the win, which is appropriate. Love that so much. And then we got a promo directly afterwards because MJF comes out. His belt's been stolen. Honestly, I like the Bang belt better than the big Burberry belt as the BBB.
Yeah, the Bang Bang belt is what it needs to be from now on. Turn it into this gaudy gold color.
He's so nice. But yes, it sets up that MJF is going to have his match at Full Gear with Jay White for the belt. He's not getting it back. He might be able to earn it back if he can find 3 friends to do a 4-on-4 match upcoming to get the chance to be given the belt back because he hasn't earned it back from Jay White yet. Which, Jay White, I'm sorry. MJF did really well being emotional and like working the crowd. Jay White took him to school. The stuff he was saying, like he was just so
He took him and he took the crowd to school because, again, this is Switchblade Jay White. I already knew when he signed with AEW, it was just like, these promo skills are going to be so much fun to watch. And again, this is what I will echo what our co-host Luis said. You have to be very careful who you pair MJF with on terms of mic to mic Round 2 still goes to Jay White. Everyone wants to say MJF won the first interaction. I'm like, no. I was like, Jay White won that first one, and that was when he was...
Exactly. So we had that come through, and then we had another charismatic member of the Bullet Club talk about the fact that he's going to be entering himself into the Battle Royal to win MJF's Diamond Ring, which was great, and setting that up. And then did a callback to something MJF mentioned in a promo about when he was younger and bullied, having people throwing quarters at him because he was Jewish. And with what's going on in the world right now, and for those of you listening or watching in the future, we are about a week into the bombings and war between Israel and Hamas at this point. There's been a lot of horrendous things happening, and in general, it's a very touchy subject for a very good reason. And our hearts and prayers go out to all of those families affected and the people that were taken and the horrible things happening. But Juice, you knew this was going on. And I know everyone at AEW signed off on this whole thing. The amount of ick factor that just came out of everything. I nearly turned my television off. I was upset. Tell me how you feel, Mike.
This one's really tough for me, only because now I want to preface by saying, in no way do I claim to be Jewish. I am not. And I don't claim the plight of those people to be the plight of the Latin people in America. However, as a person who is very sensitive in terms of empathizing with what's going on in the world and empathizing with the history of cultures and races and history, because unlike most people, I want to stay educated and I remember the histories and the atrocities that have occurred in the world and in America, lest we not forget. Mexico had everything from white people pushed us out. That's the thing. I felt really gross after that, and I don't care if everyone signed off on it. There has to be a sense of tact that you have to think about, because the majority of the online fan base right now is super critical and really negative about all this, and I tend to agree with it. This was poor taste. But I will also say that people need to calm down. I don't think we need to go as far and tell Juice that he needs to kill himself, because that's not okay. That's never okay.
No.
But,
we need to rise above that level of ick, basically, and be better than that. And kindness in general is a strong gift to give to somebody, where you can say that what you did is wrong and that you pity them for it, or that you feel for them for it, and you empathize that, like, this shouldn't be. But he seemed like those edgelord comedians I knew in the 2000s who, like, just wanted to get nuclear heat for the worst possible thing they could say. And he might be reveling in that. He might feel remorse in his real life. I don't know the man personally, but this is not the way. This is worse than X-Pac.
Yeah, this was not a good look for anybody involved. And for me personally too, I'm just like, there is a fine line that wrestling has to be careful with in a variety of things. And we've talked about this numerous times before, ranging from perpetuating stereotypes in wrestling characters to crossing those moral and social lines of what's acceptable and then what's not. And then when you add real world events like what's going on now in the context of the situation through that lens, it's not a great look. And it made me, I had to contemplate. I'm like, I needed to take a moment. I literally had to pause my television and I needed to take a moment because of how I felt on the inside. And I was just like, wrestling shouldn't make me feel this way. And
you would hope it wouldn't. It's meant to entertain and meant to be escapism in certain ways. You're getting to celebrate these amazing performers for their charisma, their style, their physicality, and not for, as we talked about with stuff like The Undertaker, like the horribleness of certain things in their real lives or anything else, if this is even a real thing. I thought to myself watching this, Mikey, this is like that moment when they had the whole Muhammad Hassan thing in WWE, the day, like on the same day as the bombings. But with that one, it was just bad timing in terms of it literally happened the same day. This has had half a week. This had half a week, if not 3 days, of lead up with all of the atrocities and things happening, knowledgeable of this, like international news, everything else, and they still followed through on an anti-Jewish sentiment. And whether you're pro-Palestine, pro-Jewish, pro-Israel, pro-whatever it is, this shouldn't be hanging around in an entertainment product with that much going on there just to get heat. Like, this is Vince McMahon levels of bad. I want to leave this be, Mike. It's a very tough thing, and I would love to have longer discussions with folks in the comments and talk through this and our feelings, and maybe even for Patreon at some point we can talk about that, and like how this is a great list to have, like, of like modern events happening at the same time and how wrestling has dealt with them. But in this instance, it took a great match and a really cool back and forth, and just, to be perfectly frank, took a giant dump all over it that was filled with hateful rhetoric and everything else, and then opened up a can of worms that the fandom to be able to come to. Let's move on from one half of the crazy couple who definitely stepped in it to the other half of the crazy couple who, again, amazing performer, but just what did it do? It needed more, and this was the second part of it too. Again, half-assed storyline, half-assed thought. She deserves better. Oh God, she does.
If we're really going to do this, what I would love to see is just pick one of the wrestlers who isn't on Dynamite, be chilling in the background, and they step into Tony's world, and then they're shocked. You're like, why can't I speak? Like, that'd be hilarious.
Turns into Keystone Cops, like you have like a Dark Order popping out from different doors. Yeah, you do all the tropes, but pay homage to it because you understand it, not because you think something's funny. It's the same thing I look at. I'm going to liken this in my nerd world. I love Lower Decks because of this. Star Trek Lower Decks doesn't just make fun of Star Trek because Star Trek things are weird and funny. It has a reverence for it that it honestly looks at those things and plays it with heart and really goes to the truth of why it's funny in it, in the context of it. That's what you have, someone that understands silent movies or that era, if she's going talkies soon or whatever else it is, and just don't play the stereotypical things that are funny. Really feed the character and why this character fits in this world and is a wrestler. I know that's tough to do and sit down to do, especially when you have a week to build stuff. But literally, you could do two things to fix it and it'll be fine. Title cards for what she's actually not saying and playing with it. It's not rocket science. Do better for Tony. Not Khan. Storm. Do better for Tony. Justice for Tony Storm.
Hold on a sec. In JBL, I may or may not be imagining things, but I do hear a wayward professor somewhere.
I'm hearing it too. Hold on, let's see.
It's chafing my junk.
I think he's not coming back.
If I wouldn't either if I saw that promo that went down. Yeah, Professor has the right idea. Hopefully he didn't get kidnapped in the magical wilderness that is his backyard.
Especially when he's chafing that bad in those pants. Anyway, we move on to our women's match tonight. Our first and only women's match of the night. Our women's championship. Saraya putting on the line for Hikaru Shida, who won the right last week. I was surprised because with the result we got from this, Saraya's not injured that we know of.
Nope,
she
I
worked a
haven't
really
seen any.
good match there for herself. Like she kept herself up there, worked it, but the dusty part of this finish, although with another cameo, was a bit of a wet fart. Mikey, how did you feel watching this?
Once again, my sentiments echo the same that I said about Hobbs. I love Hikaru Shida. I love Shida so much. She is a staple in AEW women's division. And again, people don't talk about her enough, but she literally carried the women's division during the pandemic with no fans. And she didn't get the love and appreciation I think she deserved because there were no fans. However, while I am happy to see her hold the title again, to me, this does not, as of right now, this does nothing for either woman. Shida being a 3-time champion is cool in name alone, but you don't have a division that's been built up to build amazing stories that she can possibly have with all this. And then you have the opposite end, the former champion, the one who lost this match in Saraya. What was the point of having her win it only for her to lose it not even like a month and a half later? This tells me that they really had no plans or had no idea what they were going to do with Saraya, and it was evident. Because the faction of the Outcasts literally broke up. Tony Storm is now Timeless Tony Storm. Ruby Soho, once again, is not being utilized the way that I feel like she should, and she never
you
wins
don't like Ninja
when
Soho?
It counts.
You don't like Ninja Soho?
I'm going to restrain myself because there's a lot of explicitives that I want to say right now that I'm not going to.
I understand that. On the side of the work rate on this, though, they did do really well in this. Watching that stalling German suplex on the apron with Soraya's neck, I was just like, I have never seen a more protected suplex like that. Like, Sheeta did an amazing job to keep her safe as they did that spot, which speaks volumes to her.
Oh.
And I know I asked you off camera about this, Mikey, but I gotta ask. Tony Storm's thing, one of the things is beware the shoe, or watch out for the shoe. She was holding it like a chancla. Does she get that past being Australian? She is Southern Hemisphere.
Because of the fact that she's using like her heel, like it's not necessarily a chancla, so she's not appropriating the culture of getting your ass beat with a shoe with chancla. So she gets a pass this time. And plus, I feel like Tony Storm, with how thick you are, you basically are Latina by association.
She definitely did a number on Ruby.
Diamante is coming for that very soon because she did not appreciate her girlfriend. Yeah, she did not appreciate Tony Storm biting her girlfriend's ass, which was hilarious to see on social media.
I like that she chased her off, though. That was a great way to set that up. But Saraya ends up losing the title in perfect fashion there after getting Sheeta in the... Sheeta kicked out after getting 2 nightcaps and the paint. Like, you set her up super strong, but who is she going to face now? And I was really happy to hear the crowd yelling, "Holy Sheeta," because she deserves that. That was needed in the pandemic era, but they deserve so much better.
AEW recently has been creating some really fun moments in terms of their matches, and I thought this was a fun moment to give Sheeta her 3rd win, and now she's a triple AEW Women's Champion. But the issue that I'm having is we create this really good moment, but there's no story to follow through afterwards. They always do this. They create moments, but then nothing comes of it afterwards, especially when it comes to the women's division.
Mikey, I'm processing what you're saying here, and it sounds oddly familiar to a brand that's not AEW that they're being accused of stealing from now, basically like taking their entire way of doing things. This sounds like Vince McMahon era, like 2000s, 2015 to 2015 WWE. And that scares me because I don't want to watch that at all. No, I've done that, been there. This is not how you win something. The Don Callis promo, which clever. Use Sammy's way of doing things, but it was just, again, it's one of the, I understand the concept is funny. I don't get how this is going to work for my character, but I make it work. I did write down here, though, with all of these, they're all injuring folks in the storyline and injured champions and everything else, and everyone's at a hospital or a medical facility. Can we have a backstage video segment of all of them in a hospital room having to interact with each other, all laid up in beds and doing all that stuff, like every single one of them yelling Adam from just crazy stuff like that. That would be entertaining.
A man can dream. Just like Max Caster dreams of MJF, apparently.
At least we got more backstory on why he's been doing that, too. Like, a lot of people may not have known that he and Max came up together in the same promotion. So, I like the dissension in the Ass Boy, in the Acclaim, too. We're like, why are you offering our services to Max Friedman? Like, why would you do that? And it's why.
It started off heartfelt, and Max Caster's because me and Max, we came up together. We're friends. And then it went into the homoeroticism. Plus, I love when Max plays hard together. I'm like, Max Caster, stop. Stop it.
So we get all of the injured people, or the ones that Don Callis had injured in the hospital. They band together to do a blood and guts match versus the Don Callis family.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think
I'm here for it.
But yeah, so we do that. We get the Acclaimed part of it, and then we get our... We're going to be here for as long as it takes. We get to go run over and everything else because it's going to be amazing. Main event of the night, which was another ginormous schmoz and a wet fart. Heartbreak. Edge deserves better. Adam Copeland deserves better.
Everybody in this whole entire match and segment deserved better. We got to have a discussion. Can we stop with the brawls to end the show? Like, Jesus Christ. I feel like I
WCW
thought we
90s.
got away with it from the summer, but geez, it's back.
It's back. It's whenever they think they have a lot more eyes on their product and they have to go out in a big bang there. Again, I liken it to a horrible improv Herald where you're trying to get all of your storylines like put together in the last beat and it doesn't work and you're just throwing everything at the wall. And this is after it started with a gem of a promo from Christian. Like the whole thing with like Beth, get a new set of sheets ready. Daddy's coming home. I was like, oh my God. Christian is amazing.
Christian is a menace in this turtleneck, and I'm here for it.
And we get Adam Copeland out there. He does the thing. He steps up to Luchasaurus. He's ready to go. And a random Nick Wayne, who they have to sell as was following him down the ramp, runs in to grab his leg. And we start with a schmoz. Like, already, once that happened, I was like, this is not going to work. Like, it's going to be a terrible match. And at the same time, watching Luchasaurus try to work Adam Copeland, who is only about a half an inch shorter than him, and therefore make Luchasaurus look normal. It was ridiculous.
It was crazy. I was just like, hey, it was weird to see. I was like, dang, he's almost as tall as Luchasaurus. This is crazy.
They called it out on commentary. Did we have to have Nick Wayne set up the wedge chair to take Adam out? That was...
I don't know what's happening. This whole match was like a fever dream, and I'm sad because it should have been better than it really was, but it wasn't.
And then you get the contrived thing, which I did love. They did a little bit of. Edge uses the title to beat Luchasaurus, but gets Luchasaurus to think that Christian hit him. So breeding dissension, which was cool.
That's the thing that I appreciate, because we got a tease of it between that triple threat on Collision, which I was enjoying. I was like, Luchasaurus, come back to the light side. Don't be Christian's bitch.
Be the dinosaur you need to be. Wreck house. But
play video games.
So we had that, which ran into the end of the match with Adam beating him up. And then we had the entire locker room come out. But unlike where it's like the heels and the faces get after each other, it's just who's ever in their moments with each other. Just because BCC came down for the save. Danielson's going up against Christian for the TNT title, so I could see that as the reason. Yeah, this was literally like late 90s WCW to end the thing. And to not having Shivani say, we don't know what's going to happen. We can't do it. Like, that kind of was good and bad. I wanted it for the nostalgia's sake, but it just didn't seem to resonate at all. That's where AEW is for me right now, is what are we doing? Since we got back from Forbidden Door and All In and All Out, we had no plan. We did our big moments, and now we've written ourselves into a corner. We're trying to launch all these pay-per-views and realizing we have to have story that goes through the pay-per-views, which we didn't have to worry about with only 4 for the year. Oh God, we have to not only...
Oh my goodness.
It's so much. And they're writing Ring of Honor and all the... They're hitting that wall of, oh God, we've overdone ourselves here and we don't know what to do. Professor, I know, is out there somewhere yelling how many empanadas he gave it, but I'll have to ask him later. What did you rate the Tuesday Night War Dynamite?
2.2 out of 5. There's nothing more I can say that I haven't said already in the last couple of weeks. Since, I guess, being full-time now, because technically I was only supposed to be substituting in, but now I'm...
We loved doing it in the summer, and we loved having you. And you're in with just 3 gents, so there's 3 of us.
Yeah, so there's nothing more I can say in terms of why I gave it the rating I did, because it's always the same issues every single week. It's just like the women's aren't getting booked. The stories in general are a thing that do not happen in AEW. And I think it's because who's in charge of booking for Dynamite, because Collision has somewhat of the same problems, but it's not as apparent. But that's because you have Danielson in charge of being creative and writing some of the stuff over there. Collision is like the Wild West right now, and I love it. Dynamite used to be that, but now it's literally like paint by numbers. I know what's going to happen, and it's not even the good I know what's going to happen.
It feels like Raw and SmackDown from the earlier.
And it makes me mad because the pay-per-views tend to be the funnest parts of the whole thing. And the matches themselves are great. The writer in me is throwing things at my television screen. And I don't have much. I'm not... that is the strongest talent I have. I'm not an acting person. I'm not a theater person. I'm not as amazing as the rest of my co-hosts. But the one thing one of the things I pride myself on is I'm a fantastic writer. And that's not... Yes, I am. And I am throwing things at my television because there are small things from a writing perspective that you could do to get character from point A to point B to point C. I will take loosely thinned, veiled, lined, whatever you want to call it, story beats. But you have to pick a lane and then go from A to B to C. Because the leaps in logic, and this is crazy coming from a professional wrestling fan, that we want logic in our wrestling? What's that? You need to have a clear-cut story and a path that you want to take to the pay-per-views. And AEW used to be able to do that really well. That's why I was so excited for the first 2.5, 3 years of AEW, because they were doing that. And now they've fallen into the main roster trap that Raw and SmackDown always find themselves in. Getting sick of it, Tony. Get it together.
And they don't have the excuse of an old man who's out of touch vetoing everything and ripping it up. This is just let go. I also believe it's because they have too much content to write for now and not enough time to build it to these pay-per-views. I'm with you on this one. I gave this about a 2.5 empanadas. It was a mediocre Dynamite. We take one off of that because of the whole women's debacle, and I take another half off of that because of the issue with Juice Robinson. So we're at a 1 out of 5 because of that. For a mediocre Dynamite, this is my lowest rated I've ever had. It pains me because I like watching AEW. I like watching their product. I really like the wrestlers they have on there, and I think they have some amazing stuff. But you're right, Mikey. And I don't even think it's logic, although I want to put, we want logic in our wrestling. Wrestling? Question mark on a t-shirt? I think it's less logic in it, but truth. There needs to be a truth found to give it that kernel that people can glom onto and follow. And you're just making moment to moment versus why are we invested? What is the truth of this relationship? This animosity, this rivalry, whatever it is, give us that truth. And they do that sometimes, but they shy away back from it. And it needs to be fixed. Mikey, of all the parts of this that we had to deal with, I'm most happy that I got to spend time talking about it with you. This is part of my week that I love. And yes, while I know the professor had some things to say and was just needed to get himself away for whatever reason, maybe we'll get his pre-show stuff next week. It'll be spectacular. We'll call it a post-show, like a presser. It'll be great. He'll deal with it. It'll be fine. But for you, for me, for the professor, we want to thank our fans and thank all of our subscribers for being with us week to week, taking this on with us, even when things like this happen, and interacting with us on the socials at BC WrestlePod, on Instagram, on TikTok, on all of the other platforms, because we truly enjoy sharing this with you for all its ups and downs. Because you're Biconic. We're Biconic. And we'll see you in the next video.
Oh, running in suit pants. It's chafing my junk.